Hello everyone, Ingrid Newcrab here. Did you know that the largest animal rights group in the whole world was born because of a book? The organization is PETA, and the book is Animal Liberation. Here's the story. From the moment I was born, there was a dog in my life, Shawnee. I loved him to pieces. He slept in my bed and I slept in his basket, and we did everything together. We had great fun, rolling down hills, going on picnics. He liked to sneak up on people eating ice cream cones and bite the top off it. And both of us loved to go to my grandmother's. Although my father had to stop the car, the Shawnee and I always got car sick at the very same time. If anyone had hurt Shawnee, I would have gone after them. But I was pretty clueless that I was contributing to other animals suffering in lots of different ways. My family moved to India when I was about 7. I rode elephants and camels and ponies, and my favorite hat was made of a Kashmiri wild cat, whose death must have been abominable, and I didn't realize any of that. In the 60s, we returned to England. Jimi Hendrix was on tour, and suede cowboy jackets and sheepskin vests were what you wore if you were young. I bought my very first fur coat when I was 19. It was fashioned from over 100 small animals' pelts. Today, a PETA activist would have called me out, but there was no PETA then. Thankfully, in the years ahead, PETA would decimate the fur and animal skins industry worldwide. Although I loved animals, I was also a meat eater's meat eater, pretty much working my way through the animal kingdom, enjoying liver and kidneys, raw oysters, steak charcuterie, ground raw steak with a raw egg on top of it. Incredible. The only vegetarians I've ever met were religious ones in India. As for vegans, no one had even heard the word. Vegans were people who lived in Las Vegas. I didn't connect the dots. From my rhino skin boots to keeping exotic fish, dissecting a mouse and a frog in school, attending the circus, riding horses, going fishing. Yeah, that's me. Doesn't that give you hope that anyone can change if we simply show them what they're doing? Animal liberation opened my eyes and my heart. It proves that one book, one person's words, Peter Singer's words or your words or mine, can make anyone, even the slowest learner, change if they have even a tiny seed of kindness buried inside them. I had made some changes before I read the book. I stopped eating mammals after finding a starving pig abandoned on a farm. I stopped eating sea animals when I discovered that lobsters are put alive under a scorching hot restaurant grill. And I realized that kindness to animals shouldn't be meted out based on their size. When the little snails I had bought to eat at an Italian market tried to escape, I learned that commercial snail vendors are ones to put container lids on tightly, as the snails will work in unison to try to push the lid open, something that requires teamwork and thought. I felt sorry for the snails when I saw them working hard for their liberation and guilty about preparing to saute them. So I let them go in my garden, probably breaking a federal law. Like most people, I had no idea that dairy was cruelly produced, and I'm forever grateful to someone who pointed out that if I was wearing leather, I was helping boost the meat industry, which makes a packet of money from the outside of the cow. Then he saw me putting condensed milk in my tea, and he said, "Do you eat veal?" "Of course not," I said, indignantly. "It's cruel." No one in my family had eaten veal since when I was 7. My mother had been shocked by pictures of calves locked inside veal crates. Now I heard for the very first time that the cow's beloved calf is forcibly taken from his mother so that the father can steal and sell the milk meant for her child, and that the veal industry was created to do something profitable with those male calves. By buying milk, I was supporting dairy and the veal industry. There were no vegan milks back then, so it was black tea, a horrid adjustment almost as painful as putting my favorite pair of Bass region leather shoes into the Goodwill bin. There were also no vegan shoes back then, just cotton vegan slippers from Chinatown. When I read Animal Liberation in the late 70s, it was a revelation. The book set out clearly and simply how, together with white supremacy, male supremacy, and all the other awful injustices, we must include speciesism, the pompous belief in human supremacy. After all, Singer wrote, a cultural or language or physical difference can never justify prejudice, disregard for others, bullying. Instead of improving the lot of some species, shouldn't we simply stop exploiting all species? See them as different but equal when it comes to extending consideration and respect. But let me get to where PETA began. In the 70s, the municipal government shelter serving the nation's capital, Washington, was called the DC Dog Pound. It was a terrible place. Dogs were brought in there, suffering from serious illness and injuries, and just dumped into a filthy kennel run and left to die. The staff were untrained, mostly uncaring, and dogs were dragged around by a control stick around their necks. People who wanted guard dogs, bait dogs for fighting dogs, junkyard dogs, could walk in, plunk $5 on the counter, and walk out with a dog, no restriction. Local universities collected the stray and given up dogs to use in experiments, and dissection supply houses bought the unclaimed cats for $1 apiece. Animals who survived all of that were suffocated in an explosive decompression chamber. I was director of cruelty investigations for the Washington Humane Society at that time. We were inundated with complaints about the DC Dog Pound. In a stroke of luck, the city hired me to shake the place up, and I became the first female and the first non-veterinarian hound molester. It was a curious title, but a wonderful opportunity. I started the very first spay clinic, imposed adoption rules to assure proper homes, trained the staff, made the place sparkling clean and comfortable, and provided veterinary care for sick and injured animals. And although the law required that the pound turn over dogs for experiments, who also found a clause that allowed the pound master to inspect any laboratory that exercised that right. When I told the universities I'd be inspecting them, they immediately stopped claiming animals. The dog pound became a place of mercy and compassion. Because of all this, I was made Washingtonian of the Year and had to appear at a banquet to receive an award. That night, when I went up to the podium, instead of giving a gracious thank you, I misbehaved. Or perhaps what civil rights activist John Lewis would have called, I made good trouble. I gave my first animal rights lecture, and it was all based on the book Animal Liberation. I pointed to our dinner plates and read Jeremy Bentham's quote from the book. It is not whether they can reason or they can talk. It's that they can suffer. Seeing those puzzled faces staring back at me and realizing that they reflected my own unwitting ignorance at what I'd been doing to animals not that long ago, made me determined to change how people view animals. I wanted to open their eyes, just as Peter Singer had opened mine. That's when I decided to found PETA. So today, while an enormous amount of work still needs to be done, huge changes have happened. All because our terrific PETA members heed our call to be squeaky wheels when they see or hear anything which harms animals, even if it's considered something normal. Kind people educate and demonstrate, brag, nudge, let their opinions be known, and use the power of their purse in the marketplace. They go out of their way to show others the fact and to help them make kind choices. Before animal liberation, before PETA, no one had a clue about factory farming. Every young girl dreamt of having a fur coat, and 99.8% of products were tested in animals' eyes. But as soon as PETA had been established, we ordered thousands of copies of Animal Liberation to send to every single person who joined us. Despite Al Gore not having invented the internet, and there being no social media for Elon Musk to ruin, Singer's words were spread far and wide. People read back then, and we made sure they had Black Book to read. In 2023, there's a new edition, and I hope you will read it, put it in a library, give it to someone who needs waking up. Because it is thanks to this book that PETA was launched, and the war against speciesism began in earnest. Thank you for being part of it. Now let's win for the animal's sake.